Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin Captain, Interim Director of Community Information for Volusia County Government, and your host today for our 8th panel discussion focusing on our community's COVID-19 response. Despite the fact that we're all still in the middle of a pandemic, there are a lot of really positive developments. The rate of new cases in Florida and right here in Volusia County remains relatively low. While more and more testing facilities are ramping up, the good news is that the percentage of people testing positive also is very low. Throughout the state, more than 1 million people have been tested, with a relatively low 5.4% of them testing positive. And in Volusia County, the positive test rate is even lower, just 3.3%. Meanwhile, the state and county are reopening for business. Most government facilities have reopened as well, and we are squarely in the recovery phase. Still, with all the positive indicators, that's only part of the story. We know that our residents and businesses and our nonprofits need help. Helping finding their financial footing, helping paying their rent or mortgage, and even help putting food on the table. Fortunately, there is help out there. Today, we're going to be talking about the grants and assistance programs that are available, where and how to apply, what you need to do to complete an application, and what you can expect from the review and approval process and how long that might take. So coming live from the Emergency Operations Center in Daytona Beach, today's panelists are Brad Harris, Business Manager for Volusia County Economic Development Division, Carmen Hall, Director of Community Assistance for Volusia County Government, Bob Watson, the Director of Volusia County Veteran Services, and Jean Rademacher, the Director of Community Programs for the United Way of Volusia Flagler Counties. Thank you guys so much for being here this morning, and more importantly, thank you for what you're all doing for our community to help it recover and get back on its feet. So for Facebook, we know that you might have some questions for our panel, so feel free to type in those questions, and as we get toward the end of the discussion, we'll entertain those questions. And with that, let's go ahead and let's get started. So Brad, we know that the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a temporary closure of many businesses. And while we're in the stages of reopening, many businesses may require new safety panels, plexiglass, all sorts of new safety measures. And I understand the county has a grant program that's available for small businesses that might be able to help with that. Let's talk about what kind of services are available right now.
Yes, right now we have a small business reopening grant. It's for businesses up to 50 people that hire 50 people. It's for businesses that have a brick and mortar location here in Volusia County. It doesn't include not-for-profit or home-based businesses. It's a brick and mortar business. But it's $3,000 if there's 25 employees or less. It could be up to $5,000 for companies that employ 50 or less, or between 50 and 26. So we've got that grant program available, and we've had that open since the 14th of May. We have received thousands of applications at this point.
Great.
We're in the process, and have been, of getting those approved. Checks have already begun to flow, and so we're just thrilled to be able to help our businesses in a small way with the needs they have right now because of COVID-19.
So brick and mortar businesses, employees up to 25, $3,000 is a grant, and then employees 26 to 50, $5,000.
Correct.
So that's really going to be helpful for a lot of businesses in our county.
Yeah, and as we've discussed the applications with our businesses, they've been so appreciative, very cooperative through this process, and very patient with us because the application process takes a great deal of work. But the businesses have needs. We're thrilled to be able to bring CARES dollars through Volusia County to be able to help them right now.
That's wonderful. Excellent. So Carmen, I understand also that we've talked about the effect that businesses are being forced. Some of them had to close. It's also had a major impact on individuals who depend on that paycheck from their employer. And we know the state handles the reemployment or unemployment benefits, but the county does have some initiatives in place right now to be able to help those individuals who are struggling financially.
Right. No, definitely. There are a lot of households out there that are struggling due to a loss of income from their employment or a loss of employment. And so in an effort to assist those households, we have a COVID-19 rental assistance program and a mortgage assistance program. And so those programs are designed to provide up to 3 months of assistance to households that have experienced a loss of income and that reside in Volusia County. And the assistance can be up to $1,500 per month. And the individuals, there is an application process, of course, but it is pretty minimal at this point. It did start off being a little bit more comprehensive. However, we've switched our funding source to the CARES funds, and so it's a little bit easier, more streamlined at this point. And so at this point, we've received over 1,600 applications for both of the programs combined, and we've been able to start providing assistance to over 250 households at this point.
That's great. So up to $1,500 per month.
Yes.
And it can be for a 3-month period.
Correct.
So that's really going to help a lot of people and families that are struggling financially.
Yes, and another thing to point out is that 3 months of assistance, it can be for rent or mortgage assistance that is past due or currently due, or if you continue to be eligible, it could be for future payments. So there's a wide range of assistance depending on your household's specific needs.
Well, that's great. So if a homeowner is late on their rent or their mortgage and it's past due, what kind of paperwork do they have to go through to submit this application? What's the process look like?
Okay, so they can apply online, or they can mail an application in, or they can drop it off at our office now that we're open. And so the application process, it's a couple pages long, the application itself. They would need to have proof that they reside in Volusia County
Okay.
by either a mortgage statement or a lease agreement. That documentation would need to have been current as of March 13th. And then, other than that, they have the last month of income for the household would need to be submitted. And that could be a copy of pay stubs. It might be a Social Security award letter. Just depends on that household. And then the head of household and the co-head, if it's applicable, would need to submit a copy of their state-issued ID, such as a driver's license,
Okay.
and their Social Security card.
Okay.
So-
So if they decide to do the online application, is it safe? That sounds like there might be some private information on some of those documents.
Right. We have created a secure portal to upload that information. So it's
Oh,
not
good.
being submitted over email. So
Oh,
it's
good.
an actual portal. So it is secure. But if somebody doesn't feel comfortable with that, they're more than welcome to drop off their application to our office, or they can mail the application in.
Excellent. And I was looking at just at volusia.org, right
Yes.
when you get to the page, you can see that little box, the little slider, and it shows on there rental and mortgage assistance. You click on that, takes you right to the application process.
Exactly.
That's wonderful. Excellent. Well, Jean, thanks so much for being here this morning. Another subset of the community that might be struggling right now is the nonprofit agencies. And we know how important the nonprofits are to our community, definitely. They're not the same as traditional small businesses per se, but they still have been impacted by the pandemic, and they might be in need of assistance. So what's available to the nonprofits, which I understand is new?
It's fairly new. It just went live on Tuesday, and it's very similar to the small business loan. Basically, if you're a nonprofit, you have a brick and mortar in Volusia County, and if you have up to 25 people, you get the $3,000, and anything over that, you can get the $5,000. It's a very short application, comparatively speaking, to a grant. It takes about 10, 15 minutes. There are 3 documents that you need to upload: your 501(c), proof of your Florida SunBiz registration, and another one if you have it. And it's through a secure portal, just like the counties. And as of this morning, we had 62. But I got a lot of phone calls yesterday, so we're going to have a lot more.
What are some nonprofit examples who are applying for this grant?
Easter Seals, Early Learning
Okay.
Coalition, the Peabody Auditorium, Ponce Inlet Lighthouse, some of the churches. There are some agencies that didn't have the brick and mortar, so they're not going to be able to get the grant that way. But it runs the gamut.
That's wonderful. And that's, again, these programs are all from the benefit and the support from the Volusia County Council. And I know, too, that they're also discussing, perhaps a future benefit for the non-brick and mortar. So with the new nonprofit program, which just started Tuesday from their vote, more and more benefits and assistance is coming. So that's wonderful.
We also have United Way has the COVID-19 fund. Well, we've been able to help the agencies that are doing food pantries and delivering food. We've given out about $150,000 on that right now. Wow. And if people need help, call 211 or go to 211live.org. That has all the
211live.org.
Or pick up your phone and call 211. We have an ongoing, I update it almost hourly, a resource list of agencies that are doing things or organizations that they don't normally do, so they wouldn't be in our regular database. But there's a spreadsheet there for food, housing assistance, childcare, activities to do. We've got the small business loan there. Anything you can think of. We just got something in from the Lions Club that they're willing to supply face masks for people of the hard of hearing and deaf community. So there's a lot of different things on the list.
That's great. And if there's anything to emphasize there that I heard is it's a 15-minute, maybe 20-minute process, right? That's pretty quick to fill it out.
For the nonprofit, it is very quick.
That's wonderful.
Hello, I'm George Rechtenwald, Volusia County Manager. I wanted to take a moment during this very busy time to thank everybody for what's been going on, the hard work we have done here, this Volusia County team, first responders, emergency management, our public works people, really all parts of our staff that have changed the way we do things. I'm very, very proud to be your manager and to have the team that we have here helping Volusia County. And I just want everyone to know as we move into, I believe, more of a recovery phase, heading towards normal life, that we remain committed and we'll keep doing that great work that we've done so far to get us to what really will be, I believe, a better normal. Again, thank you for all your hard work.
So, Bob, thanks for being on the panel with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You know, our veterans mean everything to us, and Veteran Services assists both former and present members of our armed forces and their dependents year-round. But I imagine with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's had an impact on the way that you've operated. I understand you had appointments for a little while, and now you've reopened back up. So how has Veteran Services adjusted to ensure that our veterans here in Volusia County are receiving the benefits that they rightfully deserve?
Well, initially in phase one, we were able to only do telephone appointments. Now that we're in phase two, we've opened the doors up, and we can do face-to-face appointments. We're still continuing to do telephone appointments for those people that aren't comfortable in getting out. We'll still take care of them, but everything is still by appointment right now. The VA is starting to open up. Initially, they shut down everything except emergent care. Now, with the VA, they're opening up. They're appointment only, both in the clinic in Daytona and Deltona. Lake Nona, which is the closest hospital to us, VA, same thing. They're doing appointments only. But I just got an email in yesterday, and they're going to start opening up locations. They're opening up 20 of the locations to complete care starting Monday, the 8th. And then each week they'll be opening more and more of the facilities.
Well, that's great. So we're definitely seeing the sort of the phase two opening of that and more services being rendered available. That's great.
Yes,
That's great,
absolutely.
Bob. So now that we're aware of what grant assistance is out there, let's talk a little bit more about the process and what people can expect. So Brad, with the small businesses, you said that you've already processed hundreds of checks already. So I would imagine you're already seeing the application process and for any that you might process where you're experiencing, say, delays or missing information, what information could you give that future applicant or advice to make sure that they don't miss anything on their application and to make sure it goes, as soon as they fill it out and they click submit, it's already being processed?
Yeah, let me go back to the process because I didn't really speak to that. But you start at VolusiaBusinessResources.com.
VolusiaBusinessResources.com.
That's the entry point for the application process. When you go to that site, it'll direct you to a place where you can find all the information on this grant program, not the least of which is what you need to be prepared for when you start the application process. Just looking at some of the statistics, we probably have twice as many entrants into the application process as we do completed applications. So you can see evidence of where people have started in, they found they didn't have something, they had to come back out.
Okay.
So there is a link there that gives you all the information you need, including the documents you need as you go into the application process, which includes a W-9 form, which most businesses, small businesses, seem to be unaware of or have not used before. So the W-9 form, which is the form we use to set someone up in our system as a vendor so we can write them a check, that form requires the legal business name and it requires a taxpayer identification number that authorizes us to process this grant funding. A lot of businesses miss that in the application process. So that W-9 form is very important. But we also ask for the business tax receipt for both the city and the county. And again, the term business tax receipt seems alien to some people because we get ad valorem tax receipts, which is not what we're asking for. The business tax receipt is basically Volusia County's license to operate in our county as a business. All businesses should have that. And the county offers an online application process through our revenue division. It's very simple. It takes minutes. So we encourage anybody who is planning to apply to go to volusia.org, go to the revenue division, go to the business tax receipt link there, and get that business tax receipt or your license to operate established, because that has been a problem for some businesses.
Okay. Well,
And the cities have the same requirement, so those two documents, along with the W-9, are three of the documents that are required.
and most commonly where you're seeing the glitch in.
That's correct.
Well, and it makes sense. You have to be able to authenticate the business, right? And one of the ways, the best ways and legal ways of doing that is looking for the tax ID. And so through the process, though, I imagine if a business applies and they don't have it, And as you say, they go through and they apply for it. They're learning this whole process too, of some of the things that they might need to get into compliance as well.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, we assume that everybody knows that, but some of them are just learning that there are licensing requirements for what they're doing.
Excellent. Well,
And so
that's-
they've been very gracious through this process. People are hurting, and it's really been a privilege, and I think we'd all say the same thing. To be able to
Absolutely.
help them with
Absolutely.
these funds. So thankful that the county council has allowed us to put these programs together and have given us license and direction to do that, because when you're on these phone calls, and we have a group of maybe a dozen that are on phone calls and processing with, it's just been an encouragement. They're suffering, but they're courteous, they're patient, and very encouraged by what we're doing.
That's
So-
wonderful. I imagine
But yeah,
you're,
it's been a process, and there's been some learning that goes with it.
wow, that's wonderful. And Carmen, when we look at the rental and mortgage assistance programs, what does that approval process look like? And what kind of, are there any hiccups that you're experiencing that you can tell people ahead of the game before they go to apply?
Right. So like you stated earlier, the first step is, of course, to go to the website, volusia.org, to complete the application. Once it is submitted, you normally will receive a confirmation email within a few days, just indicating that we have received your application.
Well, that's good, so no one's
Yeah.
left hanging, right?
Right.
They know right away. That's a great way to just say, I got your application, it's being processed.
Exactly. And, with us, every household is different, and that's really important to point out. We're not dealing with, businesses in Brad's case that have similar documentation. Your household is going to be different from my household because of the types of income that is received and to the household members. And so it's hard to say one specific thing that's normally missing.
That makes
because
sense.
We have to look at every case on an individual basis. But what I can tell households is to make sure you're checking your email once you apply. That is our main mode of communicating with
Okay.
individuals, is we try to send emails so that way they can look and see the list of anything that they are missing, and hopefully that will assist with submitting those documents. But in addition to that, all of our caseworkers, we're also calling and reaching out to these individuals. A lot of them might need more assistance than others in understanding what's missing or maybe why certain documents are needed in their specific case. And so on top of emailing, we are reaching out and calling those individuals. We won't just email somebody and saying you're missing these documents and not try to reach out to them over the phone
Which
too.
is so important today, right? Because
Yes.
even though we're all, glued to our smartphones these days, sometimes we are going to miss an email, or maybe the email will go to the junk file or spam file or something by accident. But that's great to know that besides the initial response, hey, we got your application, now there's the email follow-up if there's anything missing.
Right.
And followed by a phone call with a warm human voice that says, got your application, let me help you out, there's a few things missing.
Right, exactly.
That's wonderful. That's great. What a great service.
Kevin, I failed to say that. We also have an email
Oh, I bet.
notice.
Yeah.
An email notice that went out beginning of last week acknowledging the fact that we received applications, for those that were wondering. We do get a lot of direct calls and inquiries, so we're handling a lot of that, like Carmen said, by
Right.
phone. And we plan to give updates as time progresses. Our goal is to get through this as quickly as possible. Where there are issues, we are in phone communication with the applicants. They know where we stand right now. So we're trying to stay current, we're trying to process these as quickly as we can. As the process goes on, there will be email notices of where we're at, just to make people aware.
Sure. And I want to thank all of our panelists today for being here and sharing the information that we can provide for our residents and citizens of Volusia County, not just during this pandemic, but year-round. So it's wonderful. Your service and dedication to ensuring Volusia County residents receive the assistance that they need is truly appreciated. With that, we'll close today's panel. As we close, help your neighbor, take care, and stay safe.
Stay connected with the latest Volusia County news, events, and updates on our social media channels. Like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Catch up with previous stories on YouTube, or just head over to our website, volusia.org.